Okay, so this is Dr. Andrea Peer, and I'm so stoked to have her on. We met, well, I'll give the way we met after I read your formal thing. Seasoned user experience strategist, designer, researcher, co-founded Geek Out, an agency committed to educating and serving entrepreneurs who are deep experts. With an 18-year career in user experience research and product development and a PhD in human-computer interaction under her belt, and that is perfect for what you do. You got the right degree, as opposed to those people got the wrong ones. Andrea helps those entrepreneurs provide a guided experience that maximizes customer engagement and fosters personal growth for individuals they serve. This is achieved through her signature journey crafting framework and the Geek formula, both of which prioritize customer journeys and the flexible use of technology to create great customer experiences. The journey crafting framework and the Geek formula are designed to bridge the gap between entrepreneurs' investment and love of ClickFunnels and their unique service approach. I imagine any funnels, not just ClickFunnels, right? Mm-hmm. The combination of these resources amplifies their impact and cultivates deeper, more rewarding customer relationships. Serving the Geek clients and community is Andrea's daily focus alongside her Geek team. She lives in the Pacific Northwest and is always seeking new experiences. Andrea, thanks for being here. Welcome to the Promised Land podcast.
Thanks, Jase. It's so good to be here. I'm really looking forward to today's conversation.
Yeah, so here's how I know you, and here's how we met. We're in a mastermind with a buddy of mine named Steve Larson, and Steve owns a Capitalist Pig. Steve was CMO of ClickFunnels. And so he's got a mastermind now that I'm in because all my clients come from speaking, and we're moving into the digital marketing world, which I think you know a lot more of. And so Andrea spoke and shared her expertise. And I was like, this is genius, especially. So I had a meeting with a client today, and he's had some life stuff happen and some illness and got to hear his mom, and he's not sure which way he wants to go. And so, of course, he hasn't paid his bill. And he's telling me the stuff we've done wrong and where our program has not satisfied him. And it's always people who don't pay their freaking bill that have. I've never once had one of these conversations with a pay in full or someone up to date on their payments. Mm-hmm. If anything, they're like, oh, hey, I could use some help here, or I'd like a little more attention here. And then it's an easy conversation. Anyway, but he asked me, he goes, because we have an advanced track. We have people who have been in over a year and they're just finishing their presentations. And so he was looking at our program through a lens of make wrong, and so he's seeing these people who have been in a year that still haven't done their presentation. So he's like, is this program bad? Is this program wrong? Did they not deliver? We have people in here who have been a year and haven't done it. And it made me think of you and how you did this presentation and you showed these identifiable stages where people will drop out, where they won't follow through, where they'll go away, which as a coach gave me a lot of peace because it made me realize like, wow, it's not just me. It's not about my program. And really what I heard from you is like, no matter how great a coach you are, it's human nature for the people to bail, for the average person to bail. So I just talked a lot.
Yes.
So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times, especially for making offers that are transformational, right? That are actually like you're basically giving somebody a new identity. You're inviting them into a new identity, and then they need to step into that. But I think where it's tough is that the reason they're not a part of that identity yet is not just skill set, right? Like it's not just skill set. The skill set is the easy part. I think it's all of like. I was talking to my girlfriends actually last night on this text channel, and it was like, anybody else notice that the last half of our life is like basically dealing and healing from all the stuff in our first half of our life? Like, and I think that's what happens. Like when we're adult learners, we go into these programs and we want these identities that are screaming inside of us to come out. But it like just the throwing money at it is not going to actually make it happen. And not even just like learning the skill is actually going to make it happen. I mean, it's an internal job.
Yeah.
And I mean, I assume you are not. Neither am I. Like, I'm not interested in being a counselor. I'm not a cognitive behavioral therapist. I'm not, you know what I mean? But yet what we're inviting people to do are a form of therapy. You know what I mean? It is like a form of internal work that they're going to have to figure out how to deal with that resistance. And there's a lot of stuff we can do to help them, but not like we can only go so far. So
Anthony Robbins says psychology is 80% of your business success. So one of the things we do on our program, we have a 5-day breakthrough event called Dynamic Life. And when people go through that early in their journey with us, they're such easier clients to deal with. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we put that in because it is so critical that people get the mindset part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's not, I think one thing, I think it is a mindset, but I also think there's like, it's the language. Like I would imagine probably in your event, you give them a language and a permission for the change that they're going through, right? So like you give them things to come back to, that it's not about them. Like it's not something wrong with them. It's just coming back to the basics of these like internal tools and navigating it, you know? And so it's like, I think when you start with mindset, it's not just like the willpower of like, get right, you know what I mean? But it's like, you're going to hit resistance. Let's deal more about like how you navigate that resistance, come back to your essence of like why you're here and what you're trying to accomplish. And yeah.
Totally. So you said it, the second half, getting over the first half. I really think it's like we spend everything after 5 years old getting over what happened to us up to 5 years old. I think anything after that is just an echo and a reflection. So let's talk about resistance. Let me tee up the podcast too. So what we're here to do, and what I want this podcast to do is to equip coaches to make the difference they're meant to make. And so we're really looking at 3 areas. The first M is magnetizing people to you, getting them in your funnel, getting them to sign up, getting them to become clients. The second M is your methodology, how to actually cause transformation. And the way we think about it is your prospects on one side of this river or an ocean, and the outcome of your coaching is the other side. And we call that great area the promised land. So what's your methodology to get them to take this journey, to lose sight of shore, to discover distant land, to become someone new, to have something new? So that's the methodology. And then the third M is being the right mentor. So being someone that people will follow, being someone of integrity, being someone who can inspire, and also how to choose and have the right mentor. Because if you don't have the right mentor, a coach without a coach is not a great coach. So which of those 3, I mean, I think I know the answer. And which of those 3 really calls to you right now? Which one is most exciting you in your business?
Well, I mean, the one I live and breathe is the second one for sure. Yeah. Is the like, how do you create the journey? And I think that's that is definitely the one that's probably of my peak interest.
And so let's talk about that. And I just loved your presentation. So I don't want to I could go on and on about it, but I want to hear from you, and I want to let the people at home hear it from you. So like, can you go a little bit more into what you do? And then you're talking about resistance. What are the critical moments that you're seeing, and how can we best equip coaches to really make a difference?
Yeah. Well, and I think just from a coaching, so like you and I are using the same language. So for me, I think there's 2 types of coaches, right? There's what I call an agenda-based coach, meaning like, I'm going to teach you something. I am going to teach you something, and I'm going to get you from here to here. I have a framework and I have a proven methodology, and I'm going to get you there, right? But then I think that there's the other kind of more classic coach, which is like life coaching, right? Which is more of like, someone's going to come to me and they're going to have a goal that they want to work on, and I'm going to pull from my bag of tricks, right? And my bag of arsenal things, right? But it's based 100% on them, on the client setting the agenda. And then I'm helping them to be able to get to the agenda that they set, or the goal that they set. And I think those are 2 very, very different types of coaching. So I'm curious, Jase, and you might do both, but do you have one or the other in mind when you're thinking about coaching?
Well, actually, and I loved, so We're That Mastermind Together is where we met. And I shared at one previous, we're entering the transformational economy, and you knew the guy I was quoting. And then I heard you share that on stages last time. Yeah. So here's my thought on it, and something I'm really pushing out to my people. What was the phrase you used for the first kind of coach?
Agenda-based coaching.
And then the second
is more just, it's like lifestyle coaching. It's life coaching. Yeah.
The way I've always thought about that, I heard someone say consultant and coach. And so consultant is industry specific. Coach is you specific, right? And I think everyone needs both. I think everyone needs, like, I'm growing in my digital marketing. And so I have Steve in that arena will be a consultant for me. And then I work with like a guy named Shiraz, with Liz. I have a bunch of people I go to for my personal growth, my internal barriers coaching, like the personal coaching. I think everybody needs both. And what I'm really moving to now is, and I'm pushing out is, I really believe everybody, whether they're the agenda-based or the personal-based, you got to have both now. Or at least I'll say this. I think the agenda-based coaches, because we're entering the transformation economy, I don't care if you're teaching digital marketing, if you're teaching weight loss, if you're teaching whatever agenda they've set out. I like how you put that, agenda-based coaching. I think they have to have in there, like for us, we do speaker training. we have to have personal growth in there or people will not progress. So I think in any long answer to say, I think in any coaching program, agenda-based, you have to have personal growth in it. Like the you coaching, that doesn't mean you have to do it all one-on-one, but it has to be a part of your program. And then for the personal coaches, they don't have to have agenda-based in there. I do find it easier to sell the personal coaching, though, when you tie it to some kind of agenda, or at least get them in. So did that answer your question, or did I just ramble?
It did, yeah. So and the reason I ask is just because a lot of what I talk about is more for agenda-based coaching and less for kind of more personal, life coaching to work through things. And the reason is because I think when we have agenda-based coaching, we are trying to, again, not just help them go into a new identity, but it's also to help them develop a skill set. And we as experts who are teaching that thing, we know the best way, on average, we know the best way to get from here to here relative to that skill set. And so that's very different, because then a part of what we do is like, you have to start with an intentional journey, and it can't just be like, I hope you acquire this, but it's an intentional journey with a bunch of little baby steps that go from A to B for that particular skill set. And then I think to your point of like the personal resistance and where you do need to hold space for the things that are happening beyond what you are teaching them, right? That needs to be woven in there, but the agenda is the intentional journey start.
Yes. So what are you seeing? So what do you tell everybody like what you guys actually do and what you're seeing right now?
Yeah. So, I mean, where we specialize is we make high-end membership spaces. So you admit in my bio, it says ClickFunnels. I actually care less about the funnel aspect of ClickFunnels and more of just like the technology in the membership area. So, because there's a lot of technology, think Giphic and High Levels out there and Kajabi communities and Slack and, all of these different tools out there to make, a learning portal or a membership area or whatever you want to call it. It has like 100,000 names. But what we do is we specialize in creating high-end delivery systems that people come into, which include the content, getting the content, right, and the community and what we call the nurture. So being able to help in that transformation through and with technology. And that's what we specialize in. But the way that we do it is through more of my background in user experience and just something now in the marketing world I call journey crafting, which is trying to understand what is the intentional journey and designing that even before we touch a lick of technology or anything like that. And knowing that this is the journey that we're going to take them on. There's a very specific way we do that. Now, then we know the signals. And once we know the signals, now we can monitor it and then help with nurture boost. So that's at a 50,000 foot level. That's what we help people do. And then once they install our system and we have a software called Journey IQ, now we can actually play the game of ascension and transformation because we have the system in place to be able to help them do that.
Awesome. So I wish we had, I didn't even think of this, could have invited you to share your PowerPoint that you shared to them. Can you talk a little bit about, what you've identified as some of the quantifiable points of, I want to give the coach who's listening right now some peace that they're not doing a bad job. I think I could use it for myself after the call I had today. It's like, I was thinking about you that whole call because the guy asked me, he's like, well, why do you think, because I also mentioned we have a collections procedure we put in place. Some people hadn't paid. He's like, why do you think people haven't paid? I'm like, some people just change their mind. Some people aren't willing to do the work and they think it's not a membership. You don't get to just cancel. You signed a contract for a year. There is expectation you are going to pay for a year. You don't just change your, I didn't show up and use it, so I didn't have to pay. No, you signed it's like an airline ticket. Use it or not. It's up to you, but you have a contract to pay. Anyway, so, I was thinking about you because I was like, she wouldn't have had all of this data and identified these places people fall out if it wasn't something that happens in the industry. So I want to give people some hope and then also give them some tools to help overcome it. Can you take us a little bit through that client journey as you expressed it?
Yeah, absolutely. And so the first place and the first nugget I would give anybody who's creating a transformation program is you probably have success milestones. You probably have major success milestones that you're looking for people to accomplish along the journey. We've evolved. Most people's and their offers have evolved to that point. But the problem with those success steps is that it's usually geared towards high achievers And it's usually geared towards you as the expert, because as an expert, what we do is we chunk information. That's what makes us an expert. We can process and do a lot more, a lot faster with the way our brains are wired because of our expertise. So then when we go and we start to teach this to people, what we are teaching is too big of a chunk for an average person just coming in to actually swallow. And so the very first step that normally what we do with people is we say, okay, give us your program. Let's walk through it. Give me the major milestones. And then how can we break usually it's like 6 to 10 milestones on average breaks down to anywhere between 120 to 160 steps. And it's those baby steps that are actually what help people feel momentum. It's not the big milestones. It's those little tiny steps. And so just being able to like take whatever your first milestone is and just try to break it down to at least 10 baby steps to get from 0 to that milestone and then milestone.
Yeah, because you had that PowerPoint. You guys.
If I can share my screen, I can show the picture. If there's one in particular that you need to. Yeah. I think, are you talking about the ladder picture?
Stick figures.
Yeah.
No, the stick figures. Like it's like, and you guys, I feel so recreated when she showed this, because it's like when they begin the journey, it's like, I'm so excited. And the coach is like, I'm so excited. And then the next, down the road, the next panel is like, oh, wait, can I do this? And then they start to back off. And then the coach is like, oh, do I suck? And then,
Yes. And then it's so sad because coaches who we need so desperately in this world, they kill their babies because they don't think that they can teach it. Because people weren't doing the thing. And what we find is that's rarely the case. And it's usually just a structure and a journey problem that they had.
Yeah. Feel free to share your screen. We'll just describe it for the people listening on audio.
Oh, right. Yeah, the audio. Yeah. Okay.
Well, we also come on YouTube, guys. So if you want to see what she's going to screen share, it almost sounds like we're doing a webinar, but your stuff was so great. I think that the average coach or any coach will love it.
Yeah. So when most people come to us, they've had this experience where basically they have an amazing idea, they create it. Sometimes they'll pre-record a bunch of stuff, sometimes they won't, but they do all this work to launch it, right? Where they're looking at like cost per lead and their ROAS and their cost per acquisition and their sales conversion. And like they've just put in so much work, even just to launch this thing. And then sure enough, because they put in the work, everybody comes in and they're like, I'm ready. This is amazing. Yes, let's do it. And so then they come into your program, they buy, and you just essentially start teaching your face off. So whether that's in small groups, whether that's async, and they're just watching videos, whatever it may be, you are teaching your face off. And so then initially they love your charisma and they love you and they're like, yes, I can do it. And so they start to do it, but they get a couple steps in and they start to doubt and they start to question and they don't know. And then they get lost and they can't find the thing and they don't know. So they start to be like, did I make the right decision? I don't know. And most of the people who run these programs, being who they are, they think that the answer is to inject themselves. So be more charismatic, be more innovative, be more present, hire coaches to be more present, whatever it is. And it's like sheer force and momentum to be like, go that way. And that works initially. And people are like, okay. But they'll take another couple steps in. They'll hit the same roadblocks that they had. They might even have like a couple like, okay, I got over that roadblock with that help. But then I'm like, I don't know if I can do it again. And so they start to doubt and they start to question. And then a lot of times they just stop. But again, being who you are, you go back to the drawing board and you think if you like rework something or like you put it in a different order or you have an event around it or like you just try to get as innovative as you possibly can and you put one more momentum into it. And you're like, you can do this. And again, the response from them is like, we love you. We love everything you do. We're going to do it. And then, but it happens again. They get into it and they start to do it and then they start to slow down and then they start to.
Yeah, I have seen that over and over. So that is what happens. So the people get in, they're super excited, and then they get a little lost. Yeah, we actually hired someone to be their check-in coach. Every month they get a half-hour coach with this person. And this coach isn't accountability, nothing. It's just, are you lost? Were you good next?
You throw love at it. You throw people at it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because you want them to succeed. You don't want them. And you serve with integrity and you see them struggling and you don't want them to struggle. And so you throw yourself at it because what else can you do? Says a lot of people.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And so then what happens is you get burnout and or the resources, it like monetarily, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't convert. You're not seeing the long-term value. You're not seeing consistent MRR. They're not ascending with you. And you have a ton of help support tickets that you don't want to deal with. You know what I mean? And then you start doubting yourself and your ability to teach, or doubting the fact that you can find the right people to actually learn it. And so then you end up killing your baby or pivoting and doing another direction. And we've seen this story so many times. And it's sad. Yeah.
I can totally relate to that. By the way, are you okay if we hopscotch around in the conversation? Or
okay, yeah, I'm good. I'm totally good with abstract random. Yeah.
So one, yes, I have found myself at times, and like we put so much structures in place for our people, and then when there's sometimes just being a coach, you guys, is not the easiest way to make money. It could be really big money. It could be super high profitable. I had these clients, and they were going to make shirts that said "Clients be clienting." And no matter how much you love them, right? There's going to be that. For a lot of them, they're going to be clienting. Anyway, so what you're saying just totally rings true for me and the people at home. By the way, what do you guys recommend for support tickets? What structure do you like to use? Do you have one that you found really great?
Well, okay, so there's the technology part and then there's the person part, right? Which I think is two things. I also think that if you're spending a lot of money on your support system, there's something wrong with your journey. There's something bigger that you should be investing in, not in your support tickets. But I do think that I think Zendesk is an amazing, from a technology standpoint, that's usually like a software I recommend. And then from an agent standpoint, I think it's okay if you get people who are from non-English, predominantly English speaking people, but they have to have empathy, and they have to have a little bit of willingness to rule break. Those are the magic combos of really great customer support people. And the reason why the willingness to rule break is that I think we all have been on the other line, right? Like, what's the most annoying thing in the world when we get on and basically the support person is not able, they're just yes. I mean, they're not telling me anything I couldn't read on a help doc, right? Like, that's the biggest problem. And so if they're a little bit of rule breakers though, you know what I mean? They can use a little bit of discernment to be like, okay, let me help you here, or let me give you this little bit of a promo, or let me bring you know what I mean? Like, they're a little bit innovative, a little bit rule breakery. That combo makes a really good combo, the empathy.
Got it.
I think though, that's like a level one, that's like a tier one support, right? I think a lot of times though, by the time that something gets to a tier one support, aside from like a typical tech issue, I think that 70 to 80% of the tickets that come in are indicative of a bigger issue. And the bigger issue is usually the person is not feeling heard, seen, or understood.
That was totally this guy today.
Yeah.
And to be fair, a couple things happened on his journey. My mom died in March, and that's right around when he was starting to voice his displeasure and wanted a little more personal attention. And so typically things like that do not fall through the cracks with us at all.
Yeah.
That. And then also we had a turnover in a staff person who would have been the person to do some one-on-one work with him. And so we were looking for the replacements. Like, two things happened. So yeah, it was exactly that.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm getting a counseling session. This is great.
No. Well, and kudos for you for having the conversation, right? I think you talk about like the mentor or the coach. I think one of the biggest things as being a coach is like, you have to be willing to hold space for transformation, and transformation can be freaking ugly. Like, it can be ugly. It could be mean. It could be low. It could be the worst part of the human. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, transformation is basically us fighting our ego. That's essentially what we're doing, you know? And the ego is a clever little beast, like, who can throw some punches, you know? And so I think like, if we're actually going to get serious about transformation, we have to be willing to hold space for some pretty ugly humanness that happens.
What are some of the best trainings or things you've done to help you master your ego and then to hold space for your people?
Well, I don't know if I can say this on this. Can I?
Anything you want.
Okay. Psychedelics.
You prefer no cussing? Anything other than cussing is great.
I'm good with no cussing. Yeah. Psychedelics saved my life.
Yes.
It was ayahuasca.
Really?
Yeah. I was on a journey of, people were transactions. I was climbing the corporate ladder in corporate, and my ego was in full control. And
what was in full control?
My ego My ego was 100% in the driver's seat. Yeah. And wasn't even aware of it. I mean, that's the worst part. It was not even an awareness. Like, it was just how I was living. And a friend of mine who was retiring from the military wanted a life transformation. She's pretty spiritual by nature. And she invited me to go to 7 days to work with a medicine woman down in Peru and do 3 sessions of ayahuasca and one with San Pedro. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I had never done psychedelics in my life. I had never done any of that. And it leveled me in a way that, they oftentimes have this saying of like, once you see, you can't unsee. And so when I got back, I remember sitting in the boardroom and because I was so keenly aware now, I couldn't do it anymore. I remember the CEO looked over at me and was, what's wrong with you? like, where are you? Because normally I'd be like, busting, you know what I mean? Like, just the driving, and like, I couldn't tap into it anymore. It was gone. And that was kind of the beginning of, and then of course, as you know, like, that's just the awakening. And then there's all this integration work. So from that, lots of counseling, lots of prior journeys with plant medicine, and just working with this crazy beast of an ego that I have. So, but like raising awareness around it. So yeah.
You said you did plant medicine before ayahuasca, or you're saying since ayahuasca? You've been more
since ayahuasca. Both? Yeah.
Ayahuasca.
Yep.
That's interesting you said that. So I've been wondering what I would bring that out on this podcast, because I was Christian to be like, yeah, plant medicine has made a huge difference in my life. Like I'm a dead man walking. I'd like to tell that story. So but before that, let me share this. Where I really got to work on my ego though was have you ever heard of the book Mastery by George Leonard?
I don't know that I have.
Phenomenal. So
yeah. Okay.
I went through a Brian Clemmer event back in 2004 or 5. I actually have a picture of it over here. We did a ropes course in the Redwood Forest of California, and I had trust issues, and said like, "Oh, we're going to blindfold you to climb up this 60-foot ladder and do this ropes course." So, but they recommended buy this book, and George Leonard was an Aikido master, and he studied and watched people who could actually ascend and get a black belt, and people who flamed out. And he looked at the different learning styles, and he taught a lot about homeostasis, which is our comfort zone and our programming to stay stuck, and a bunch of other things. But he taught about Aikido, and they said Aikido is this masterful thing to study, and that really sat with me. And I moved to Vegas, and I went through this recession, depression. I moved, and I felt like these God nudges to Aikido. And finally, I moved across town. I felt like this hand on my chest, and I was a new Christian, and it said, go to Aikido. So I go to this Aikido place, and it turns out it was a Christian Aikido school, which wild, right?
So serendipitous.
Yeah.
I love serendipity. It's like my favorite thing in the world. It's awesome.
I really believe it was God-led is how I would say it. So, but yeah, one of the things they talk about in Aikido, there's no strikes. It's all you flow with. I don't know if you ever study, but Aikido is Aikido, which is ki. So it's spirit, harmony, way. So it's the way of flowing with the spirit. And so what we would talk about in Aikido class is if someone comes at us and we resist them, that's just ego. Why not just flow with them or get out of the way of them? Yeah. And so where I really broke my ego in that sense was in Aikido training. And I haven't studied Aikido for 8 years now. And I could really feel a difference, because like we would go to class and maybe I'm dealing with something in the business that's really bothering me. And I invariably, the person I'm training with would be like, bro, you're really heavy today. Because I was resisting this thing in my life. So I was resisting in the Aikido class. So then in a Aikido class, like if someone's going to throw you, throw yourself to save yourself. It's a way to roll away. Does Aikido really work in a street fight? I have no idea. I just know this. It's a way of creating peace. You're going to have a lot less street fights. So anyway, that's where I broke it. And any coach, I cannot recommend it strong enough. Aikido is a beautiful art. And I learned to be so much gentler. I really need to get back into it, because like a sales conversation, I could just be with whatever was said. And then I took Landmark, and one of their advanced trainings is communication courses, and it was like a verbal art of Aikido. And then going to psychedelics, I did a psychedelic journey last year or 2 years ago, and I did all this healing, Andrea, like all this stuff, my body, my back. It was a long one. I think I did like a hero's dose that day. And I had been doing these ones where you combine MDMA with psilocybin, and that makes it really nice. But this was just pure psilocybin. And I mean, the medicine was talking through me to Betsy. I believe, and I've had to do a lot of prayer as a Christian, like, and I declared Jesus over the space when I'm doing it. And I'm really clear for me, this is God helping me become a nicer human.
Yeah.
And anyway, I did all this healing, Andrea, and then the medicine goes, now you're going to die. And I'm like, what? Why do we just do all that healing if I'm going to die? And it goes, to get you ready for this. And I'm like, y'all, I was convinced, because our subconscious can do anything. So I was convinced it was just going to have my subconscious stop my heart. And I saw Betsy was holding me. Betsy was sitting with me during this journey, and she was holding me. And I was like, Betsy, is it okay? Early in the journey, before all this healing happened, I was like, is it okay what happens if I die? And then this comes, I said, Betsy, I'm going to die now. And so I feel her crying. I mean, talking later, she's like, she didn't really believe I was going to die, but I did. I was 100% convinced I was going to die. And I saw this ring, and I went through this ring, and it was like dying. And then the medicine's like, what do you feel now? And I could feel being hugged. And the medicine said, this is what it's going to be like after you die. It's just a giant hug. Mm-hmm. And I really feel like I died that day. Like,
yeah.
That, and doesn't mean I don't have ego back, but my ego died that day. That was the day.
Yep.
I'm just here. I'm a walk, and I'm here to make a difference. I'm living a borrowed time. It's every day. I don't live it this way all the time. And what I got to, though, was every day is a blessing. So
yeah. Yep. 100%. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very similar. Yep. As part of, yeah. It's like, they talk about like born again and things like that. That's what it felt like. Yeah. It's like, I was born again. I no longer could do what I used to do. It was not accessible to me, that who I was and how I lived, and it was just no longer accessible. I couldn't do it.
That's really going to change the way you take on your business and the way you help other people take on their business. Because you're not going to be, I mean, the money is always important, and you're really going to be focused more on that contribution and that client journey.
I do. And I think that comes out though in like my team interactions, I focus a lot on, and because I think that's the heart of it. Like when we are treating people like transactions, I think it starts in little micro parts of your conversation where it's like somebody gets upset, that they're upset, but you just try to power through for solution, right? It's like death by 1,000 cuts when you do that, instead of just like giving space for like, hey, something's happening for you. It's not my responsibility, right? But I can see it as another human traveler. I can see that you're struggling with something. Do you want time? Do you want to press and come back to it later? You know what I mean? Or do you need to do a second? Like, stop trying to just power through these powerful emotions that are coming through you, because each emotion is a signal, and it's an important signal for your own growth, for your own transformation. And so stop just trying to power through it. So I focus a lot on my team on that.
You said your team. You're talking about your team.
Yeah.
I think you're eliminating a place of growth for me, because one of the things I was saying to one of my team members today, we don't have any employees. We just have independent contractors.
Same. Same.
Some stuff has fallen through the cracks. And I'm like, and there's times I'm out of integrity and stuff. Yet, when I'm paid to do something, I do that thing, and I expect my team to be that way. Mm-hmm. And there's a part of me that's like, don't wait for me for anything. Even if I've broken my integrity, go do the stuff you're paid to do because you're paid to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm learning that's probably not the best way to lead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I think everyone has a little bit of a difference, right? And I think what's interesting, not to project my world into your world, but I know for me, I am highly oriented still, like, because I mean, even though the ego died that day, like you still have one, right? Like you're still dealing with it every day. And so like, I know for me, managing perception is a really big deal to my ego. Like, and when that gets threatened, right, then like a lot of stuff happens. And so if my team is doing something that I think threatens the perception of me, right, that's usually a big trigger for me. But I think like it's amazing when I just articulate to be like, hey guys, I think you should have done this. But the reason I think that is because I think the client is not going to be happy with us, which therefore it hurts the perception of me. And so like, that's all my ego stuff, right? It's not that to say that the action wasn't wrong or that we need to improve or anything like that. but I try really hard to like voice the truth of like, why am I actually upset about you? You know what I mean? It's like, it's because my own ish, like I still need to work on that stuff, you know? But anyway, yeah.
It takes a lot of awareness and guts, though. Something I actually got on a journey last year is that those small conversations are the big conversations.
Yes. Yes.
And the
those
kind
are
of
the big,
just want to
that's it.
overstep those.
Yes. Yes. Those are it. I think that is it. And everything that you do, it's ripple. It's a ripple into your product. It's a ripple into your service. It's a ripple into how your customers feel on the receiving end of
Right.
that. I think it's part of it. It's the heartbeat. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. So let's go back to the client journey. I love this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So really look at it. And you guys at home, I want you to really get this. It is completely normal if you have people who are super excited and then they peter out, you know?
Yep.
It's so, and then what I heard you say, then we inject more of ourselves, more charisma, more chutzpah. It's something you said when we were in person that really stuck with me is a lot of times we write the courses for the high achiever.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. 100%. And when I say high achiever, I think it's a double whammy, especially we actually have, I think, a triple whammy as entrepreneurs. So you are a high achiever. The fact that you are an entrepreneur, you are a high achiever. The fact you're an entrepreneur, you're crazy. Like you usually have a beautiful chaos about you. You know, we always joke like entrepreneurs are squirrels or like, you know what I mean? But like that chaos is the chaos for change making because that's what entrepreneurs do, you know? So you have chaos, you're a high achiever, and in addition, you're an expert. So like you have a level of expertise and you've chunked all this information together. So you have this like triple whammy of non-relatability to 90 or 68%.
Non-relatability.
Yeah, right. Like you're a weirdo, like in how you think and how you problem solve and how you support yourself and how you troubleshoot, you know what I mean? And how you like get yourself to do something. Like you're a weirdo. Most of the population doesn't do that at all. So what that means is that then we either left with coaching other people like us, right? Who are like the 1% to 2% of the world. Or we need to embrace the fact that, you know, that we are working with. Now, I'm not talking about like poor performers, right? Who just aren't ready for your thing. Like that is an anchor and that's a whole different conversation. But what I'm talking about is the majority, like the 68% of the majority of the population do not have the skill sets you have, do not have the expertise you have, do not have the ability to navigate these big, heavy resistance that you have been able to navigate probably in an unusual way. And that, I think, is the crux of when we're making journeys for our customers. We make them like for us, for who we are, instead of for who they are.
You know, I heard someone say once when I was learning to be a coach, and they're like, you're looking for the 2% in the room, the 2 or 5% that are just going to grab it. There's going to be 5% that just exceed massively with it.
Yeah.
But that explains why they are already those high achievers, or they're learning how to be high achievers.
Yeah.
And the question is, how do we reach the rest?
Yeah.
How do we make a difference for the middle?
Or you just embrace the fact that your earning is going to be capped. Your ability to, the number of people you serve will be capped, right? If you really don't want to embrace what it takes to serve the 68% majority, then that just means you have to accept the limitations that it's going to have on your business. You know what I mean? But like, if you want to have a product that does serve that majority, then yeah, it's embracing a different way of learning and achieving. Yeah.
Good question then is, how do we attract more of the high achievers? And then, yeah, let's also put stuff in place for that 68% middle. So let's talk about that. Let's jump back into that a little bit. So what else can a coach do? And I know you've worked with, I think your bread and butter, you've got really big companies you work with, I believe, you know, who have tons of people. What about the smaller coach who's maybe they're just starting a group program, or maybe they only have individuals?
Yeah.
We're telling all of our people to go to group, but you got what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And we actually, like our first, some of the first products that we released were actually for beginning coaches and experts, or people who wanted to go from, you know, one-to-one to one-to-many. And not one-to-many as in many, but one-to-many as in like small group, 7 to 10. And so I think when you're first in there, I usually used this. So in the software world, there's this really famous picture. And the famous picture is like, how do you actually create a good first product? And what it is there's one way that's like a car, right? And it's like, you could give them a tire and the customer's sad. You could give them like a tire with like the frame and the customer's sad. You can give them like a tire and a frame and a body, right? And the customer's sad. And then you can give them like a tire, a frame, a body, and a steering wheel, and the customer's sad. And then finally, the last one is you give them a tire, a frame, a body, a steering wheel, and an engine. And now they're happy, right? And that's like, I think a lot of times the pressure that we have because we see the big marketers and the big coaches that have the car already. And we compare ourselves to that. But instead, we would always say, no, that's not what you're trying to do. What you're trying to do is the better frame of it. And that is, I'm not delivering them 2 wheels. I'm delivering them a skateboard. And then I'm delivering them a bike. And then I'm delivering them a motorcycle. And then I'm delivering them a 3-wheeled vehicle. And then I'm delivering them the car. And so each step of the way, the customer is happy, right? Like they have an experience that they can at least do something, they can get something from. And so I think when you're first starting, I think it is like you have to have direct contact with your people. And the reason is because you have to get the feedback loop of like, where is it good? Where is it bad? Where do you need to break down more?
Yes.
And then I think the other one is always to have in mind, like try to do it low tech. Don't put a lot of money into tech because it's not worth it initially. It's more about immediate direct feedback from people real time. And then just keep trying to iterate on a skateboard, then a bike, then a motorcycle, and just the one part of the experience that you can deliver in a meaningful way.
So I love that. Yeah. And one of the things our people come from the stages I speak on. And so those stages we've just had a lot of newbies for whatever reason. Now we're changing some of our marketing. We have some sponsorships coming up that are going to be really good. And I think bring people who already have multiple 6-figure businesses that are ready to get to 7. So having said that, though, when I'm talking to the newbies a lot, I don't even know why I brought that up, but my point for newbies is this. I encourage them, do not create a course, like a recorded course.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah. Just go group coaching, high ticket, high margins, low tech. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Don't pre-record 30 videos and then put them out there. That's like the worst possible thing you could do. It's the biggest waste of your time.
Let's repeat this for everyone listening, please. Do not create a bunch of videos.
No. Yeah. It's the worst. And then try to sell it. That's horrible. It's like the worst possible thing you could do.
Who is teaching people this business model still? Because we have people come through and they're like, oh, I'm going to create this course and it'll be $200 or $1,000. And then this, I'm like, how are you going to sell it? And if you're going to speak from stage to sell it, you might as well sell a 5,000 scalable group program.
I think, okay, so for a little while, we took a venture into serving podcast influencers. We actually still have one client, everyone, we don't have any others, but we still have one. And what I learned there was that the way that podcast influencers influence is not how we're talking about it. They don't want to be hands-on with their people. They don't want to be in a community, right? It is an asynchronous relationship and they want to maintain that freedom autonomy. That is critical to who they are as creators and humans. And what that gave me was, so what that gave me is we actually created a quiz. It didn't get very many legs, but we created a quiz that basically said, what kind of guide type are you? Are you somebody who wants to be highly accessible and hold your people accountable personally? Or are you somebody who doesn't want to be accessible and you don't even want to hold people accountable? You just want to like make an ebook or make a book, right? Or the combination of the two, right? Do you want to be highly accessible but not hold people accountable? Or do you want to hold people accountable and not be accessible? And what that gave us is 4 different guide types. And I think that like a lot of times when people are trying to like do these courses and advise people to do these courses, it's because they're the guide type that doesn't want to be accessible. But that doesn't mean go create amazing courses. It means create a program that you can still have accountability for your people through a system. So your investment now is in the system and not in time. But the investment in accountability is still critical for transformation. So I think that's the part of that conversation that's missing.
Yes, and it's also, you mentioned they are podcast influencers, so they already have an audience.
Yeah,
they're not like a newer coach, attempting to bring. Because how's that newer coach going to sell $1,000 thing? They're going to run ads. Good luck. You got to figure out how to run ads. You got to spend money for the ads. And if you're going to speak, you're probably going to do discovery calls. And if you do that, then just do the scalable, high ticket, one-on-one or group coaching program.
Yep. Because traffic is the hardest part of the equation. It just is. And you can either get traffic, through influencer platforms, or you can get traffic through grassroots growing, one client at a time, bringing them in.
Hey, what's the hardest part for a coach to make in the transition from the coach being, for the coach to become the kind of coach that we're talking about, that actually supports their people and gets them on it? What's the hardest internal shift for them? And then what's the hardest external business structure shift for them?
Oh man. Okay. So there's some deep stuff in here. So I think, I'm going to use really romantic language, but I think it's appropriate. And that is, you can only love somebody as much as you love yourself. And you can only help somebody as much as you're willing to hold space for yourself to transition. So I think as a coach, you need to understand where where you're at personally, and how big of a transformation can I personally hold space for? Because it is direct reflection into your personal life.
I keep taking notes on what we should pull out to use on our social media promos, and you keep dropping bombs.
It's so true though, right? Because it's how can you hold space for somebody who's trying to make a bigger transition than you've made personally? You can't. It's not possible. So yeah, it's huge. So I think knowing your own limitations, I think on that same factor is knowing your joy factor. So what kinds of transformation are you willing to hold space for, and what kinds are you not? And being really transparent with your people on that, right up front.
Your joy factor?
Mm-hmm. Your joy factor.
Define that. I'm not familiar with that phrase.
Okay. So, all right. So let me give you an example. So we work with deep experts, right? And we get to crawl inside their heads and their hearts and deconstruct their knowledge and create the customer journeys. That's usually our process. It is a joy factor for me to sit with an expert who's trying to deconstruct these 10 plus years of expertise. And it's painful for them. And it's painful for them to try to articulate how to do something so that a newbie or a majority person could do it. That whole process can be kind of painful for some experts, right? But I love holding that space. And I love being able to navigate that. It doesn't bug me at all when they get mad or annoyed or, you know what I mean? Sad or frustrated or, you know what I mean? None of those emotions bug me at all. I welcome it and I can hold space for it, and it's awesome. But if somebody were to come to me and they were to talk about traffic and they were I like the pain of traffic and the messaging and how do I say it and what do I do and how do I be and how vulnerable do I be? And personally, I'm still on that journey myself. And second, do not find joy at all in those emotions and those resistance and how to navigate that. None of that excites me at all. So we actually in our business, shut down the traffic part really hardcore. We're we found partners, we don't even try to engage in the conversation with customers, because it's not how we can help. It's not how we can serve. It's not the space we can hold. That's not what we're doing. So it's that joy factor of I enjoy being in the muck on this part, not enjoying being muck on this part.
So what's the hardest part for them to do structure wise to really support the middle?
Do you mean
or even the height?
In general?
For a coach to make the transition from being ineffective with that 68% middle, but really it's you still have to put stuff in place to help the high achievers. But internally the shift they make, and then structure wise in their business, what's the hardest thing for them to put in place for the business?
Yeah, I think, so for structure wise, I think I don't even know if it's hard, but I think because once you start getting the hang of it, it gets easier, but it is deconstructing your knowledge. So that one step you had, make it 10, make it 20, make it 30.
It seems so contrary to me. When I have people helping me do this on some of my stuff, and I'm wouldn't you rather just bang out an hour? But it makes sense too, because now when
you're a high achiever. And you're one of those weirdo entrepreneurs. And I think another part of it is that when people are going through transformation, they're going tree to tree. They're not seeing the forest. You as the architect are seeing the forest. And so you can see the accumulation of trees to be oh my gosh, that's a lot of steps. That's going to feel like forever. But most people don't see that forest. They just are trying to go tree to tree, right? And it's getting them into that tree to tree focus that actually helps with the progress.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, yeah. But I often say that you're a weirdo. You're one of the 1%. So it is.
I'm going to make shirts that say weirdo.
Yeah.
Eat them.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, it's funny. I was working with a client 2 days ago, and we're reviewing. So we do nurture reports, meaning like we say, hey, these are how people are progressing in your system. This is where we're seeing like people drop. This is what we think you could do. This might be an opportunity for an upsell, right? So we're looking at the data of progression. And it's not just like they completed it, but like, are they getting the transformation that they want? And so we showed them the report, her the report, and she's one of them that she's like, gosh, it never ceases to amaze me how much attention and support people need. And I was like, I know, it is true. Yeah. She's like, I never would have thought to like insert that nurture or insert that motivator or insert that extra little bit of training, right? Like, 'cause I didn't need it. You know, I was like, yeah, I know, I get it. But sure enough, we inject it and we see boosts.
You know, I can't blame our clients either. Like I do CrossFit and I've been going 7 years now, and we'll do deadlift or something, and I'll be like, is my form right?
Yeah.
I've been doing it for how long?
Okay, I love that you said that, Jase, because I think that you asked me what the hardest part is and like what that transition is. I think it's that we're applying our abilities in the places where we're strong. But if you could just like have a little bit of compassion for the places where you don't feel strong, where you don't feel like an expert, where you're not a high achiever, right? And just like your people are feeling that in your program. And so that's like an empathy bridge that maybe you can make to be able to put in that work to give them the extra steps and the extra love. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And one of the things I teach when you're selling from stage too is you got to let people know it's not their fault where they are.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. 100%. Yeah. Yep. It's not their fault, but they get to own it. They get responsibility for it. Yep.
And from this moment on, it's their responsibility to do something about it.
Yep.
So taking a left turn to the conversation, popping around, talking about sponsorships and stepping up. Are you going to Stephen Marley's wedding?
I yeah.
Awesome. So for you guys watching and listening, I'll tell the story the way I know it. And so we go from there. So Stephen Marley, Steve was CMO of ClickFunnels. We've already talked about him, the mastermind. Marley, his fiance, is a big YouTube influencer. What does she actually talk about? Does she teach YouTube or does she teach marketing?
She teaches YouTube. Yep. She teaches YouTube. I mean, marketing with YouTube, but yeah.
And she's an influencer. I think she's like 7 million views on YouTube, and she does a lot of other stuff. She's been in, connected with TV, movies, high profile appearances and things. She gets big businesses sponsor her stuff. So they're getting married, and there's a thing called pink tax. And have you experienced the pink tax ever? We got Betsy and I got married in 2021, 4 years ago, and it's real. Like we would call a venue, and we go, what's the occasion? Well, we're having a party. Oh, it'd be $1,000. Got it. But if we happen to say, oh, we're getting married, oh, $2,500, $3,000, just they jack the price just because it's a wedding. Yeah. So the way I recall Marley telling a story, they were at a venue, and venues tack on all these fees, and they said $650 cake cutting fee, and so they're like, screw this. So they're like, how can we be disruptors? So and they're wealthy, they're doing well, they don't need people to buy them toaster. Yeah. And I thought about this during our wedding. So they're selling tickets to their wedding. And instead of people buying them stuff, they're just buying tickets. And then you could do, it's like $57, which I think is totally reasonable. And then they'll have an upsell package where there's going to be a, are you going to the
biohacking? There's a rehearsal dinner, and then a rare couples mastermind.
Yes. Yeah. So I'll announce this. Now, this is going to come out after the wedding because the wedding's in like 10 days and this won't be released for a while. I will be the official sponsor for the wedding. I think I'm the premier sponsor for the wedding. So I will be emceeing the rehearsal dinner. Oh, cool. And then I'll be on faculty for the Rare Things Mastermind. Oh, my God. And we're donating some paintings also for the event. So, like the line painting behind me, we're donating some. They're going to auction it because they're raising money for Kenya. And then I'll be working back a room for that. And then we're going to do like a book thing together as well. So, yeah, I've never sponsored a wedding before, but I think it's going to be a really good chance to connect with some people, like some
That's amazing.
People.
Yeah, that's me. I mean, some powerhouses are going to be there. So yeah, 100%.
That's the idea, right? And then, where do you live again? You live in the
I actually
PW.
live there. No, so when you read that bio, I was like, oh shoot, I didn't update that. I live in Colorado Springs now. I just recently moved. I was living up near Seattle, but I just recently moved to Colorado Springs. Yeah.
What do you consider Colorado Springs? What part of the country is that?
In Colorado?
I mean, is that considered the Rockies? Mountain West?
Yeah. Rockies. Yeah. Rocky Mountain.
Cool. So, and then a Scott Simpson's event. He's doing AI marketing world. We're going to sponsor that in Dallas.
Oh, so cool.
So, and then I just started texting with someone else, but he just told me kind of a hush one. Another big player. By the way, if you know any sponsorship opportunities, we're looking for them.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I'm excited about those opportunities coming up, and I'm sharing it on the podcast too because I want to share kind of our journey of growing. What is your So if we bounce around, we talked about the methodology. Can we talk a little bit about Magnetize and Mentor real quick?
Sure. Yeah.
How do you get clients? What are you seeing has been most effective for you? And you work with a lot of really successful coaches. What are you seeing is happening in the industry to get people that's been very successful?
Gosh, that's so hard. I mean, 100% of our clients are word of mouth. So yeah. And they're word of mouth from one of the principles in our business is we call it pay to play, but we show up. So where they're at and what they're doing and the events that they have, and we show up.
Awesome.
And that's how we get all of our clients so far is just pay to play. Yeah. And word of mouth.
What do you see your clients do? Because you got some big clients.
Yeah. Traffic is always the hardest part of the game. I think right now DM is really popular. I think, conversion via DM is the most popular one on the organic front. And then I still think that Facebook ads has legs, but I think you have to hire somebody who really knows what they're doing. And they are like the latest, like right now, the latest thing on Facebook ads is doing like server side tracking versus like client side track. Anyway, it's like you need to have somebody who's on their game to know what you're doing with ads if you're going to do it.
I don't even know what you just said.
Yeah. So we have one person that we feel good of referring, like only one, just because it's hard. It's really hard to find, I think, an ads company that operates with integrity, and doesn't just gouge you, it doesn't just throw your money down the drain. So we're usually more pro organic. And again, it's partners doing stuff like this, right? And DMs. Yeah.
Awesome. And let's talk about mentorship. So we've talked about who they need to become to get their people through the journey. But when you think about who a coach needs to be so people will follow them, so people will say yes to the offer, so people will, there's a quote, I'm going to just look it up real quick. One doesn't discover new land without pretending to lose sight of the shore for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one does not discover new lands unless one consents to lose sight of the shore for a very long time. So if we're going to take people on that journey, we've got to be able to be someone that inspires them to have that faith, to take that big journey. So what do you see in becoming the right mentor and then also in choosing the right mentor?
I mean, I think the choosing the one is the easier one. So I'm going to answer that first. I think choosing the right mentor is like someone where you do feel seen and you do feel held. And you do feel like they're willing to crawl into the trenches with you and help you. I think that's more and more needed. I mean, yes, we'll always need the ones that are the motivators. We'll always need what I call the seed spreaders. So the Brene Brown's, the Simon Sinek's, the Russell Brunson's, you know what I mean? Like these to me are seed spreaders. We need them in the world. But like, if you really want to get serious about your own transformation, I think it requires somebody who's willing to crawl into the muck with you, or at least be able to tell you to go in the muck and be there when you're in there, So like, at least every great mentor that we've had, that's been the signature similarity of they create a journey and they hold space for us to actually step through that journey. And that's huge. I think that's it. In terms of becoming that person, I think it's all that internal work. I think people follow who you are, not what you do. And I think it's just, being vulnerable and being real and knowing what you're willing to share and what you're not willing to share. And like, I think more and more people just want honesty, transparency, show them the ugly, show them the, don't just like show them the good. I think people want to see the ugly too. I think that's so important now. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I actually, one of the reasons I haven't been on social media as much, I get just tired of people showing their highlights.
Oh yeah.
And I'm intentional with showing my lowlights. And I and then also during COVID, I didn't like all the stuff that was going on with what information got shared and what wasn't. I was like, I don't want to keep putting money in their pockets. And I really got the message now, to get where we're going, we've got to show our highlights more. Because if we don't, if we put that, the Bible, it talks about Christians as you're a city on a hill, and it says no one lights a candle to put a basket over it. So I can see where, to show people that it's not all perfect, I have hidden my candle in some ways, and it's time to turn that up, which is its own journey. There's so many people. Have you ever dealt with imposter syndrome?
Okay, so I don't. Let me tell you what I think imposter syndrome is, just so we can kind of like be on the same page. So I think that imposter syndrome, when we talk about it, really is just basically a lack of self-worth and self-confidence. That's all it really is. It's not about this like fancy imposter syndrome word. It's just your own worth. You don't feel worthy to be there, and you don't feel confident. And I think that sometimes you don't feel confident because of the worth, but I think sometimes you don't feel confident because you're not supposed to be there yet. Like, it's legit non-confidence. And so like, you got to go into the place where you do have some confidence, but I think that a lot of times it's around worth. And I think going back to the mentor question, actually, I was talking to Steve about this. I was like, a lot of times the mentors they've made an invitation, because no one can give you self-worth, not real self-worth, right? But they've made an invitation for me to step into a form of self-worth that I did not have. And so in that invitation, it was like a door was open. It's my choice to step through it. It's my choice to receive that invitation. It's my choice to be like, okay, let me see if I can work with this, and like step into this. But it was them just simply opening the door and the invitation into that made all the difference in the world, because they saw something that you didn't see, or they valued something that you undervalued. Or something about that relationship, right? And them just extending that invitation, I think allowed you then to work on the worth, and confidence comes after work. That to me is, this imposter syndrome that people talk about. It's really self-worth and confidence. Okay, so now I'm giving you that like super long-winded answer. Have I struggled with it? So after ayahuasca, after like death of ego, or at least awareness of ego, my biggest struggle, so, they oftentimes have this saying called integration. Like, integration is the work, where you're like, you have all this download, but how do you bring it into your life? And my hardest thing was, I didn't know what confidence was anymore, because the only confidence I knew was an ego-driven confidence. I didn't understand what it was anymore. And I knew I didn't want to step into that old confidence, but I just felt like a weird, wobbly, awkward giraffe that like had no sense of like, how do I step confidently into this world now? Like, I don't understand what confidence is anymore, if it's not with my ego. And so that's been the hardest part right now of like, how do I step back onto stage? How do I step back into a leadership role? How do I step back into social media without my old way of confidence?
Yeah.
And what does that look like? And it had to do with a lot of self-worth stuff and a lot of like all the ugly stuff, and like redefining what confidence is. And so don't have it down. That definitely is a struggle, more so than what typically I guess would be called imposter syndrome.
I had something similar for me when I became a born again Christian with motivation. Because my motivation all came out of ego, and it was, I wanted to make money so I get the girl, or I wanted to get the girl, or I wanted to look good, or go on trips and all this stuff, and none of it mattered anymore. And I was like, everything I really wanted was to be loved, and there's an undisputable, unstoppable force of love, and that's called God, and the Jesus part is how I get access to it. And like, so why going to work? Like, it became really demotivating. And then I read Purpose Driven Life, and I found my motivation and my mission now. And so our mission is, we believe you have a God-given mission, and it can be funded and fulfilled through your business. And so my secular mission is to launch coaches out so that we change the world together. And that's why I do what I do. I mean, the money's great, my lifestyle's great. And my Christian facing mission is, your part of the Great Commission can be fulfilled and funded through your business. So I want to help people who are Christians grow so that they can spread the love of God. So I find the motivation in that now, but I went through for something very, very similar with you. It's like you did. It's like, well, if it's not in this old stuff, what am I motivated by now?
Very existential crisis. Yeah. It's like, I don't know how to be in the world without this fundamental thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. And it was like, well, when I'm grinding to get this thing, I got this thing I want to get. I mean, it's still good to have goals, and I'm still motivated by goals, and I like them. Well, actually, I'm learning more to be motivated by goals. And So, but talking about the imposter syndrome, when I overcame it, it was, I was a new coach, and I'm talking about maybe a year into my journey. And that first seminar I ever went to, I started coaching for them, and I'm coaching people, and I'm back in Florida, and I'm visiting with one of my best friends from college, Steven. Steven, I don't think has ever been to a personal growth seminar or even lifted a personal growth book, right? He's an accountant, but he's funny, really cool guy. And I shouldn't say but. And he's funny, really cool guy, good dude. Very just matter of fact, get stuff done, high achiever, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm talking about it, I go, Steve, I'm coaching these people to be millionaires. I've never been a millionaire. I'm coaching people on saving their marriage. I've never been married. I'm coaching them on being better parents. I've never been a parent. I'm like, should I be doing this? And he looks at me and he goes, Jase, here's what I think. If you can help people, then help people.
Yeah. I love that. I love the simplicity of that. It's so true. It's so true. Why, that's a brilliant answer.
Yeah. So I think people, you're talking about self-worth and stuff, and I think it's totally true. And I think it's a focus, their challenge. Their focus is on themselves as opposed to how much people need their work. And I know when I lose that focus, that's when I do horrible. And it's like, thinking about the sponsorship, the big one with Scott coming up, 500 to 1,000. I haven't spoken in front of that many people live in person for a long time. And they're all AI experts. I'm not AI expert. And so part of me is like, ugh. But then I'm totally taking my eye off the ball of who are the people in that room who are like, how do I speak? How do I grow? How do I touch more lives? And then when I can put my eye on that, it's really, you talk about death of ego. When we can, and it's so, what's the word I'm looking for when it's a contrary thing that yet it's true? It's
contrary?
Whatever. It's controversial. No, it's the word will come, but it's so, the less you worry about yourself when you're speaking and selling, the more sales you make.
Mm-hmm.
The more you focus on your client or your prospect success, the more you're going to make, the more you're going to rock it out. So, hey, we're getting close on time. This has been awesome. Before we go, any just straight up tips you've got on speaking, sales, anything else, marketing, or anything come to your heart that you're like, this is something, books, whatever, anything you're like, this is something badass I want people to know, or a tool that you've been using or something you've been doing?
Yeah. So I shared this at the mastermind, and I think it's an important one that if you're playing the game of transformation, the single best authority right now when it comes to the economic game of transformation, which all of us are in, that is Joseph Pine. And Joseph Pine has a area on Substack because he hasn't released his book called The Transformation Book, Transformation Economy. He hasn't released it yet. What he is releasing, he actually just released all of his chapters. He is releasing his chapters on Substack. And he has like groups and communities that are talking about like, what does this business of transformation look like from an economic standpoint, from an experiential standpoint, from a business standpoint, right? I mean, it's a big deal. And so I think like, if you have a business and you are providing any kind of service or product, getting into the transformation economy is going to be critical. And in order to understand how to do that, I would 100% subscribe to Joseph Pine's, Substack. Get the book when it comes out. Just understand the game you're actually playing now, because it is you are charging people for a new identity. You are giving them an invitation into a new identity, and that's no small thing.
Do you know Alexander Ford by any chance?
That's a name.
Alexander's a buddy of mine. He's Measurable Genius. We had him on the podcast recently, and that's one of the things he's really been putting out is in your marketing, you've got to give people the identity that will cause them to take action on what you're offering. So before you make your offer, have your audience tap into the identity that it will require in order to buy it. And he just crushed out a sale at his recent event.
Yes. And then when they do buy it, the very first step that you give them, don't give them logistics, don't give them all that other crap, and make them take a step into that identity in some demonstrable way. Yeah.
I remember you saying that. Like what? What's a demonstrable way for them to do that?
A really easy one would be like create your own manifesto, have them read it out loud, and have them share it in the group, right? Like, this is why this manifesto means something to me. That is probably one of the most powerful ones that I've seen for people.
Have them create their manifesto?
No. So if I'm creating a program, if I'm the coach, I create a manifesto for the identity that I am inviting people into, and then I have them read it as the very first step. Read it out loud, and then put into the community why this manifesto resonated with you.
Oh, I like that. That is awesome. By the way, speaking of this, totally non sequitur among other ones. Yeah. We just started working with this video guy named Travis, and he just made a brand video for me. It's like a 10-minute documentary on my life.
I think I know. Like he's a tiny little dude. Travis?
No, he's a tall guy.
Okay. No,
he's not known in our circles yet. We found a diamond in the rough. This guy's awesome. It's like a 10-minute documentary on how and why I'm doing this, and it's so compelling. And what made me think of that is, when people are interested in you, the more they know you and the more they know your heart, the more they're going to tell. Hey, I showed it to a friend and they got up and they gave me a tearful hug. It was so awesome. Mm-hmm. So it's just so cool. Oh, Andrea, this has been awesome. So if people want to get in touch with you, what's a great way they can get in touch with you? What's something
geekoutconnect.com. That's our main place. And we hang out on Facebook mostly. So we have YouTube and Facebook. Facebook's where you can connect with us.
So just look for Geek Out on Facebook.
Yep. Geek Out.
And Geek Out Connect.
Connect.com.
Mm-hmm. This has been awesome to have on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jase. I so appreciate the conversation.
All right, guys. So thanks for being here on To the Promised Land podcast. Now, if you want more, and Andrea just shared with us, she's got something cool. We have something called the Speaker's Green Room. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's where speakers go and they hang out together. It's behind the scenes. We share upcoming events, sponsorships. We have extra training, and we have some awesome access to training and tools and resources from our gifts. So if you're interested, go to the Speaker's Green Room. We'll put the link in the chat. It's the Speaker's Green Room. Join the Speaker's Green Room. You get a month free, and then it's $97 a month. Cancel anytime. And Andrea and I are going to pop over there, and she has got an amazing giveaway just for Green Room members. Thanks for joining me today on To the Promised Land podcast. If you're ready to grow your impact, master your message, and become the kind of speaker people can't ignore, head on over to our website, tothepromisedlandpodcast.com. That's where the real transformation begins. The links are all in the description.